Hello, hello, hello. How are y'all doing this evening? We are going to finally finish up this national security strategy. Get this thing done and over with so I don't have to worry about it anymore. Well, I don't really have to worry about it now, but said I was going to finish it. Gotta finish it. Tonight's live stream won't be very long. We don't have much more to go on it, and I don't really have any other topic for this evening. So we'll knock this out and pretty much call it a night. Nope, let me not do that. There it is. That's what I wanted to do. So tonight we have, I believe, like 4 more pages. I think. I believe so. Yeah, because I think we ended on 24 last night. Not last night, the night before. Sunday night. So we're on to page 25. And you know what I've taken from this thing mostly is, he's got a ton of great ideas. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot in here um, that could really benefit the United States and really put us in a whole new level when it comes to um, the wealth in our country. But at the end of the day, you know, you can you can say what you want, but there's no way that you're going to get everybody to vote for what you want. He's starting to lose a lot of Republican um, votes when it comes to the Senate and stuff that he wants to do. So him being able to get any of this through the Rubio on the thumbnail, for him to get any of this through, um, it, uh, yeah, I just don't think half of it will happen. The only way any of this is going to come true is, like I've said 100 different times, is he's got to go in and shock the system. He's got to go in and really hammer home all this stuff. That's the only way that it's going to work. You know, um, yeah, that's about the only way that I see any real change happening. If he's going to go in there and play politics, then nothing's going to happen. Nothing ever happens when it comes to politics. So, they're in a cushy job. Why would they want to fix anything? Because if they fixed anything, then there would be less need for them. Anyways, we're going to start out tonight talking about it says promoting European greatness. So that's the page that we'll start on, page 25. All right. American officials have become used to thinking about European problems in terms of insufficient military spending and economic stagnation. There is truth to this, but Europe's real problems are even deeper. Continental Europe has been losing share of global GDP, down 25% in 1990 to 14% today, partly owing to national and transnational regulations that undermine creativity and industriousness. Oh, geez. Can already tell tonight's going to be a rough one. European greatness, yeah. Yeah, I doubt that that's going to happen anytime soon. You guys know Germany, for the 3 straight years, their economy has decreased. and like the EU, their overall GDP has went stagnant, like it's flatlined, because the only thing that they have over there is realistically is just banking. They have nothing else. Anyways, we'll continue on. But this economic decline is eclipsed by the real and more stark prospect of civilizational erasure. The larger issues facing Europe include activities of the European Union and other transnational bodies that undermine political liberty and sovereignty, migration policies that are transforming the continent and creating strife, censorship of free speech, and suppression of political opposition, cratering birth rates and loss of national identities and self confidence. Birth rates are cratering everywhere, literally everywhere. How you guys doing tonight? Wilma, good to see you in here. Kiwi, nice to see you. Stacy's mom, thanks for being here. Yeah, it's gonna get a lot worse. Well, there's a podcast that I watched the other day. It was talking about the World Economic Forum, and that one's actually a really good listen. And I wouldn't mind going over it on here, but the only problem is that the podcast is an hour and a half long, and I don't know if I want to live stream a podcast for however long that would take. That would take numerous episodes to do. Anyways, but this economic decline is eclipsed by the real and more stark prospect. I already read that. I thought I went down farther. Should present trends continue, the continent will be unrecognizable in 20 years or less. As such, it is far from obvious whether certain European countries will have economies and military strong enough to remain reliable allies. Many of these nations are currently doubling down on their present path. We want Europe to remain European, to regain its civilization or civilizational self confidence, and to abandon its failed focus on regulatory suffocation. This lack of confidence is more evident in Europe's relationship with Russia. European allies enjoy a significant hard power advantage over Russia by almost every measure. They save their nuclear weapons. As a result of Russia's war in Ukraine, European relations with Russia are now deeply antiquated, and many Europeans regard Russia as an existential threat. Managing European relations with Russia will require significant U.S. diplomatic engagement, both to reestablish conditions of strategic stability across the Eurasian landmass and to migrate the risk of conflict between Russia and the European states. It is a core interest of the United States to negotiate on expeditious cessation of hostilities in Ukraine in order to stabilize European economies, prevent unintended escalation or expansion of the war, and reestablish strategic stability with Russia, as well as to enable the post hostilities recognized reconstruction of Ukraine to enable its survival as a viable state. The Ukraine war has had the perverse effect of increasing Europe's, um, especially Germany's, external dependencies. Today, German chemical companies are building some of the world's largest processing plants in China, using Russian gas that they cannot obtain at home. The Trump administration finds itself at odds with European officials who hold unrealistic expectations for the war, perched in unstable minority governments, many of which trample on basic principles of democracy to suppress opposition. A large European majority wants peace, yet that desire is not translated into policy. In large measure, because of the government's subversion of democratic process, this is strategically important to the United States precisely because European states cannot reform themselves if they are trapped in a political crisis. Yet Europe remains strategically and culturally vital to the United States. Transatlantic trade remains one of the pillars of the global economy and of American prosperity. European sectors, from manufacturing to technology to energy, remain among the world's most robust. Europe is home of the cutting edge scientific research and world leading cultural institutions. Not only can we not afford to write Europe off, doing so would be self defeating for what the strategy aims to achieve. American diplomacy should continue to stand up for genuine democracy, freedom of expression, and unapologetic celebrations of European nations, individual character, and history. America encourages its political allies in Europe to promote this rival of spirit, the growing influence of patriotic European parties, indeed gives cause for great optimism. Our goal should be to help Europe correct its current trajectory. We will need a strong Europe to help us successfully compete and to work in concert with us to prevent any adversary from dominating Europe. America is understandably sentimentally attached to the European continent and, of course, to Britain and Ireland. The character of these countries is also strategically important because we count upon creativity, capability, confident, democratic allies to establish conditions of stability and security. We want we work with aligned countries that want to restore their former greatness. Over the long term, it is more than plausible that within a few decades, at the latest, certain NATO members will become majority non European. As such, it is open question whether they will view their place in the world or their alliance with the United States in the same way as those who signed the NATO character or charter. Um, Basically, what he's saying right here is that uh, most of those countries over there are going to become Middle Eastern. Like that's what he's saying is about them losing their non or losing their European um, what do you call it, majority. And if you're in Europe, you shouldn't lose your European majority. The same thing goes with in the United States too. We're on the brink of having tons and tons and tons of third world country immigrants in our country. It says our broad policy for Europe should prioritize reestablishing conditions of stability within Europe and strategic stability with Russia, enabling Europe to stand on its own feet and operate as a group of aligned sovereign nations, including by taking primary responsibility for its own defense without being dominated by any adversarial power. Cultivating resistance to Europe's current trajectory with European nations, opening European markets to U.S. goods and services, ensuring fair treatment of U.S. workers and businesses, building up the healthy nations of Central, Eastern, and Southern Europe through commercial ties, weapon sales, political collaboration, and cultural and educational exchanges, ending the perception and preventing the reality of NATO as a perpetually expanding alliance, encouraging Europe to take action to combat mercantilist overcapacity, uh, technological threats, cyber espionage, and other hostile economic practices. The Middle East. We're going to shift our burdens and build peace. For half a century at least, American foreign policy has prioritized the Middle East above all other regions. The regions are obvious. The Middle East was for decades the world's most important supplier of energy, was a prime theater of superpower competition, and was rife with conflict that threatened to spill into the wider world and even to our own shores. Today, at least two of those dynamics no longer hold. Energy supplies have diverged greatly, with the United States once again at a net energy exporter. Superpower competition has given way to great power jockeying, in which the United States retains the most enviable position, reinforced by President Trump's successful revitalization of our alliances in the Gulf with other Arab partners and with Israel. Conflict remains the Middle East's most troublesome dynamic, but there today is less to this problem than headlines might lead one to believe. Iran, the region's chief destabilizing force, has been greatly weakened by Israeli actions since October 7th, 2023, and President Trump's June 2025 Operation Midnight Hammer, which significantly degraded Iran's program. The Israeli Palestinian conflict remains thorny, but thanks to the ceasefire release of hostages, President Trump negotiated progress towards a more permanent peace, toward progress toward a more permanent peace has been made. Hamas chief backers have been weakened or stepped away. Syria maintains or remains a potential problem, but with American, Arab, Israeli, and Turkish support, support may stabilize and reassume its rightful place as an integrative, positive player in the region. As the administration rescinds or eases restrictive energy policies and American energy production ramps up, America's historic reason for focusing on the Middle East will recede. Instead, the region will increasingly become a source and destination of international investment and in industries well beyond oil and gas, including nuclear energy, AI, and defense technologies. We can also work with Middle East partners to advance other economic interests, from securing supply chains to bolstering opportunities to develop friendly and open markets in other parts of the world, such as Africa. Middle East partners are demonstrating the commitment to combating radicalism, a trendline American policy should continue to encourage. But doing so will require dropping America's misguided experiment with hectoring these nations, especially the Gulf monarchies, into abandoning their traditions and historic forms of government. We should encourage and applaud reform when where it emerges organically without trying to impose it from without. The key to successful relations with the Middle East is accepting the region, its leaders, and its nations as they are while working together on areas of common interest. That kind of completely goes backwards from what they said that they were going to do right here, in our hemisphere. Like, they said he's essentially said that he was going to impose his will and support the opposite side of people that don't have the best interest for the United States. But here it's saying, oh, the United States needs to back off and just let these countries be who they are, whether we agree with it or not. Which I agree. Let them. I mean, if these countries want to kill themselves and kill each other, I mean, go ahead. America will always have core interests in ensuring that the Gulf energy supplies do not fall into the hands of an outright enemy, that the Strait of Hormuz remains open, that the Red Sea remains navigable, that the region not be an incubator or exporter of terror against American interests or the American homeland, and that Israel remains secure. We can and must address this threat ideologically and militarily without decades of fruitless nation building wars. We also have a clear interest in expanding the Abraham Accords to more nations in the region and to other countries in the Muslim world. But the days in which the Middle East dominated American foreign policy in both long-term planning and day-to-day execution are thankfully over. Not because the Middle East no longer matters, but because it is no longer the constant irritant and potential source of imminent catastrophe that it once was. It is rather emerging as a place of partnership, friendship, and investment, a trend that should be welcomed and encouraged. In fact, President Trump's ability to unite the Arab world at Sharm el Sheikh in pursuit of peace and normalization will allow the United States to finally prioritize American interest. Now on to Africa. For far too long, American policy in Africa has focused on providing and later on spreading liberal ideology. The United States should instead look to partner with select countries to eliminate conflict, foster mutual beneficial trade relationships, and transition from a foreign aid paradigm to an investment and growth paradigm capable of harnessing Africa's abundant natural resources and latent economic potential. Opportunities for engagement could include negotiating settlements to ongoing conflicts. Example given the DRC, Rwanda, Sudan conflict, and preventing new ones, i.e., Ethiopia and Somalia. Why are we stopping that one? Let that one go on. as well as action to amend our approach to aid and invest, example given the American Growth and Opportunity Act. And we must remain wary of resurgent and Islamist terrorist activity in parts of Africa while avoiding any long-term American presence or commitments. The United States should transition from an aid-focused relationship with Africa to a trade and investment-focused relationship, favoring partnerships with capable, reliable states committed to opening their markets to the U.S. goods and services. An immediate area for the U.S. investment in Africa with prospects for a good return on investment include the energy sector and critical mineral development. The development of U.S.-backed nuclear energy, liquid petroleum gas, and liquefied natural gas technologies can generate profits for the United States businesses and help us in the competitive competition for critical minerals and other resources. The end. We are finally finished. Thank you, Jesus. No more reading necessary. Can come back to chat here. Oh, hey, PJ decided to show up. Hi, PJ. Russian Greek Orthodox Church. The war was manufactured by making chemical and biological weapons labs in Ukraine, also missile sites aimed at Russian children. They forgot Russia is part of Europe too. Oh yeah, hi Killshot. Robot. I was roboting? Yeah, we talked about Asia. Let me see if I can. I think that was the very first section of all of this that we covered was Asia. Just a second. Yeah, that was just on Saturday or Sunday when we covered Asia. So it was on part two. Yeah, there was actually yeah. So there's one, two, three, four, five. Holy crap! There's like 8 pages of this on Asia. So it'd be found in the one from Sunday. Yeah, there's a lot in here about Asia actually. And I'm sorry, I love you guys, but I'm not going back through and reading all that again. That was the worst idea I've ever had. Could you read that whole thing again? I missed it. No, I'm not. No, not doing it. Under Trump's control. Well, like I said before, you guys can find all of that on whitehouse.gov. You can go straight to the website and it'll be on there. Or you can go back and listen to Sundays again. Well, not the worst idea. If USA was perfect society, I would accept them dictating to everyone. But I see stuff from USA looks terrible. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you on that one. I don't think we should be advising anyone when our country is a absolute shipwreck. There's a lot that we have to fix in our country. The homelessness, veterans, just there. I mean, those are just a couple. The child trafficking. Um, don't get me wrong. I'm a gun toting gun owner, but there has to be something done on how all these people are just willy nilly getting guns. Like Don't get me wrong, I don't want to have to jump through a bunch of loops just to get a hunting rifle, but nowadays it's getting to the point where there's so many people out there that are way more brain broken than ever has been that it's terrifying. And I mean, look what just happened in Australia. Uh, the numbers for like gun violence or gun related deaths in America last year, I think, was like 64,000. And in Australia, because they have some of the most strictest gun laws in the world, there was only like 34 gun related deaths. So, like, the difference is huge. Now, you're never going to get away from it. And you're never going to get away from, people um, obtaining guns and doing crazy things. Like, it's just not going to happen. That a deadly weapon can be just about anything. I mean, there's people out there that are dangerous with just a pencil. Like, there's a lot of things out there that can be turned into a weapon. So if somebody's broken in the brain, they're going to turn it. They're going to do what they're going to do, whether it's a gun or it's a knife or if it's you know a homemade explosive or something. But I do believe that there's something that has to be done there. I don't know what it is. I don't have very good ideas because you're not going to go to 300 million Americans and say, "Hey, you guys need to hand over your guns." Like, that's not going to happen. Not going to happen at all. Never will. So, but there's a lot of people out there right now that are saying that with the way everything's going out there, there's about to be a massive revolution. But when it comes to the podcast that I watched the other day, that was talking about the World Economic Forum, like, it's crazy because those guys will openly say in the World Economic Forum is basically like the most richest, powerful people in the world all meet, and they talk about where they want the future of essentially the world going. And that's not a conspiracy theory; it's a real thing. So, um, Australia has a lot of gang and mob shootings. Yeah, they definitely do. But again, if you look at the stats, there was only like 35 gang or gun related deaths. Like you said, it's more knives and all sorts of other stuff. But anyways, if you go and look at the World Economic Forum, those guys are basically like all the world bankers, all the world leaders that are some of the richest people out there that make all the decisions, and they're the ones that plan on where things are going to go and how it's going to happen. And there was a lady that was high up. I can't remember what her title was. I'd have to go back and look at it. But she was high up in the echelon of the World Economic Forum, and she had talked about um, uh, she had talked about just how all everything's going down and how, like, essentially all this was planned. I think Americans, us, has the most mass shootings. Yeah, we do have the most mass shootings, but we're also the country with the most guns. I mean, there's you can't really judge America like with all the killings and everything. I mean, we have more rights than most countries do. Like, America essentially compared to the rest of the world is still the wild wild west. I lived there twice. Guns are not hard to get. They just cost a ton, 6 grand. Yeah, yep. But people are still gonna get. Again, if you're brain broken, you're still gonna do it one way or another. What I did not like was Avi Yamini's stream hundreds of people blaming Muslims before they knew the Muslim. Yeah, I agree, and I don't like. There's one distinction that a lot of people are not understanding is that these are Islamist terrorists. These aren't Muslims. Well, they are Muslims, but there is a historical difference between a Muslim and an Islamist. Like historical. You can go back and I've read the Quran and I've studied with a lot of these guys, and I'm not Muslim whatsoever. I'm a devout Christian. I mean, you ain't ever gonna have me. I'm never gonna idolize or pray to a pedophile, and that's exactly what Muhammad was. But one of the things that I didn't like because I actually saw some of the videos, and I saw the video of the guy that was disarming him. Uh, he disarmed him and then just kind of let him run off, and then the guy ran back to the bridge and got a gun and then shot him. Like, if you're sitting there with that massive gun in the guy's face, I would at least be telling him to get down on the ground and holding him there until police or somebody or someone got there. Um, well, his father was part of a gun or a hunting club, so he was able to have those guns. That's why he was capable of getting that stuff. So, but yeah, but again, when if there's people that are that completely brain broken out there, uh, they're going to come up with any way possible to hurt someone. Um, there's ways to have, and I'm not about to talk about them on YouTube, but there's ways to have uh, uh, mass casualties without it being a gun. Yeah. One of the things that I didn't like is I believe in Australia it took almost 17 minutes for any police or any kind of response to that whole thing. And like there was police officers that were running away from the situation. There was police officers hiding behind cars. Like that's the stuff that I wasn't too happy about when I watched the videos. Um, and then even here in America, the Brown University shooting, like this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I mean, it to me, it's a complete red flag. Like I think this is a false attack that's just trying to get people riled up. Um, because there's no way that there's like over 680 cameras in that area, and they have numerous views of this guy, but they have no idea who it could possibly be. But like when Charlie Kirk got shot, they had fuzzy, goofy looking video photos of this guy, and like had video of him going across the courtyard, and it just the whole thing just stinks to me. It stinks to all high heaven. Like, but again, when it comes to that, it took 13 minutes for any kind of police response, and like I don't know. There should be more. They should be there faster. It should be prompt. But with the way that our political environment has been, we've lost a lot of police officers. We lost a lot of first responders, and then a lot of them that do and end up going there. They're scared to do certain things because they're scared they're going to get in trouble for what they're doing. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know. I see a lot of protests lately, so I'm not sure what to think on a lot of that. It's crazy lately. Yeah, I don't know. I have my beliefs, and when the time comes, I'll stand up for what I believe in, and the time is coming, you guys. I mean, if you can't see the writing on the wall, like the events that are happening all across on the other side of the world from us and on the other side of the pond from us, it's getting closer and closer and closer to here. And now we have hundreds and thousands, even millions of them of Islamist. I'm not saying Muslims. Everybody wants to keep saying use the word Muslim, 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 Muslim. I'm talking about Islamist. I'm talking about these radical Muslims specifically. And in my opinion, there is a different. Ozzy is awesome, mate. Yeah. Australia, I know, is always a good place. I mean, I really enjoy most of the people that I meet from there. A lot of people are really free spirited over there. For for an island uh, of criminals, in the history, isn't that where I think it was like Britain and those guys? They would send all of their criminals. They'll send them and drop them off. Hey, what's up, Blind? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Yeah, I suffered from Bondi to surfers. You surfed Bondi to surfers and all in between. Loved it. Yeah, yeah. I don't think I've ever met. I'm not saying they're not out there, but I don't think I've ever met like a total asshole that was from um, Australia. Not saying that they're not out there. I just haven't. I've never met them. Bondi. Yeah, I know. I'm used to seeing Bondi because of Pam Bondi. My bad. Um, but yeah, I mean, the writing's on the wall on what's going to happen here in the United States, and everybody needs to. You just need to keep your head on a swivel and be prepared. Um, it's going to happen. It's inevitable. Ozzy's a racist. Yeah, dude. I'm sorry, but just about the whole world is becoming racist these days. Like, it's bad because that word's been thrown around so much that nowadays people they don't even care. They'll openly just say it. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys seen the Nick Fuentes interview on Pierce Morgan. Pierce straight up asked him, "Are you a racist?" And he's like, "Yeah," and then follows it up by saying, "Oh, I think everybody's a little racist." And it's like, okay, so these days it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. The real meaning of words don't even exist anymore. The words are getting thrown around so damn much. We are going backwards in America. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, and you're not wrong there. And I don't like using this type of language, but this, like, what's happening in the United States, man, it's crazy because I'm not a Democrat in any way, shape, or form, but this is like the makings of World War II all over again. Like, if you go back and you look at the historical points and look at how everything happened and how everything was slow rolled and what happened during that time, it's oh man, it is almost so close to being the same thing. I mean, it's not point for point, like it's not exact, but there's a lot of the same precursors that are there. People don't realize the effect of the world. I took a break from a lot. I was watching too much. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, PJ. I mean, and you can ask Stacy's mom. I was going from hot to cold. Like, there was times where I was texting her talking about, like, I just wanted to burn everything down and like just destroy everything because I was just hating what I seen on all fronts. And then the next day it was okay, yeah, I'm not paying attention to this anymore, and then the next day I'd be angry, and then the next day I'd be, just irate, like everything that happened with Charlie Kirk and stuff. Like, I was just completely, you know, enraged during that time. And it wasn't, I don't know if it was necessarily about Charlie himself, but it was just the whole situation and everything that was going on during that time. And like, I finally, like, just like you, I had to take a break from it. Yeah, I'm the same way. Chilling with a Mari, a kiwi, and a pineapple. Yeah. LOL. I still don't have a side. Yeah, well, yeah, no, nobody's gonna make me choose a side. Like, I refuse to do. I refuse to put myself in any of these categories. Left and right is not important as bottom to top. I have to agree with you on that one. Well, it's not new. It's history. History is a great word. Oh, Astoria. Greek's the best. That's new. That is new to me. Hey, we all should have pride in our culture and our grassroots and where we come from and all that. And nowadays, it's hard to be proud of anything. So more power to you guys. I don't know. If you guys want my honest opinion, and this would be conspiracy theory as shit. From everything that I seen and the videos that I seen afterwards of like when Erica was kneeling at his coffin and all that other stuff and holding his hand and all that shit. Don't I man, I would not be surprised if Kirk did not get Tupac. Like that I would not be surprised if he isn't actually like was hidden away somewhere because nothing that happened there made sense. The things that I seen afterwards didn't make sense. The way he looked in his casket and how his body was when he should have been in full rigor, and then after embalming and everything, like his skin should have been it. Like there was just so many things that I looked at and I was like, this all smells too bad, and I got enraged with everything during that time, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. Like I'm not even dealing with this because Kirk is alive with Pac. No, I'm saying I think he got Tupac. You know how after Tupac died, everybody was talking about how they seen him everywhere and all that other stuff. But anyways, that whole situation didn't make sense to me. And then I got so insanely pissed off when I saw that two of our service members got shot, and then it's one thing after another, and that's why I said during live stream a few days ago that it just feels like they're really conditioning us. They're browbeating us and they're tearing us all down so that we get to a point that whenever they decide to go nuclear, and I don't mean that in like a nuclear bomb sense. I mean when they decide to go over the edge. Um, yeah, I do remember that actually. The AI debate. It does not add up to me, but I'm not going to Candace Owens with it. Yeah, see, and that's the other thing is I'm not going Candace Owens with it. Even though those two just talked and like now all of a sudden the whole world is good again. But um, no, I think that they're conditioning us so that when they go nuclear and decide to drop the hammer and just go absolutely bonkers on everything, then the American people are just like primed and ready for it. I mean, look what happened after like 9/11. The whole entire country was like, yeah, go over there and turn that place to glass. Like we did not care what was happening, how it was happening. I mean, there was a lot of laws and stuff that were created during that time because of how vicious America was being over there. Candace is still going with conspiracy. Yeah, she's not going to stop. You guys, just like Erica said on one of her interviews that she did with a news channel. Um, she had said, she had said flat out that they're making hundreds of $1,000s per episode. Like, why would you stop that? Why would you want to stop making hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. The whole political system and politicians are AI. Yeah, who knows these days, man? And I was talking about that with Stacy's mom before too. Is that, like, you have nowhere to go to know what to believe. You don't know what's real anymore and what's just fake as shit. Because what you think is fake as shit ends up being real, and what you think is real ends up being completely fake. I'm a digging a bunker under my house. I'm 300 miles from the nearest city in the world's most remote country. I'm not paranoid. That's funny. People say comfort has made us weak. I completely agree, but I think empathy. I mean, and Elon Musk is the one that said it. He said it was he named it on the Joe Rogan podcast. It was called suicidal empathy. Like, we have just become so empathetic about every single thing. I mean, just everything. No, you're not gonna blow my mind. I've been messing around with AI for the last few years now, watching where it's going and what it's doing. Why do you think I had a conversation with you? Miss McCrone's packing a Magnum. That's funny. I have no idea. You would have to ask Macron that, because he's the one that decided to date his 50-year-old teacher. So you would have to ask him. He's the one that knows what she's packing and what she's not packing. Yeah, you got to ask which one is the Mister and which one's the Mrs. Because some of the things that I see Mrs. Macron doing to him, like, you wonder who the actual man in the relationship is. But I do think, the way that we have become so empathetic about every little piece of things that are out there, um, it's really destroyed our culture. I mean, it really has. Yeah, I don't know that one. I try to stay away from the whole pegging thing. That's just weird in my book. I think I need to go watch the inflatables protesting. See, and that's what's so weird, is like, look at where we are. Look what's going on. It's just, I don't know. That's why I say there's so many people out there that are just fucking brain broken, that we're just seeing the most ridiculous shit, and then, like, the other thing that I'm getting annoyed by is when people fuck around and they find out, then they want to cry about it. It's like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, for one, when Trump got into office and the things that he has said, if you spit, we hit, like, those things should be warnings to you people, not you people, but to the people that are out there protesting and acting a complete fool, because they're gonna fuck you up, plain and simple, right or wrong. They're going to fuck you up. I mean, they have been given the okay to do so. So if you fuck around and you end up finding out, that's your own damn fault. Like, don't sit there and cry and whine because you got fucking shot with a rubber bullet and you had to get a testicle removed. Well, you dumbass, were out there screaming and yelling and hooting and hollering in order to get shot by a rubber bullet. Like, come on, people. Use both sides of your brain. Don't be such window lickers. And if you're out there, if I seen those people out there in those inflatable suits, and I would do this just to be funny, not to like be mean to them or anything like that. But imagine you see 20 people out there with inflatable suits, and you just get a bottle of that fart spray, and you walk by all their little vents and you just start spraying inside all their little vents. Like, come on, tell me that wouldn't be hilarious. If you want some company at all, let me know. Oh, I'm only going to be on about another 10 minutes and then I'm going to jump off. I just got done doing 3 full days of reading the national security strategy, 29 pages. my tongue is tied, my brain hurts, and I don't think I ever want to read another political document again in my life. And I don't think anybody wants to hear me read it again, looking at the views that I got on the last two live streams about this. I'm not saying that they don't have interesting perspectives. I just think that like they're being absolutely ridiculous with all of it. Like you can like, well, why can't people sit down? Like we're not in the time anymore where people can sit down and have a legitimate conversation. Like we feel that we have to take megaphones out and scream in each other's faces. And if the person don't see the exact same point of view as you, then they deserve to get shot. Like that's the way everything is these days, and I can't stand it. I honestly think that the conspiracy theory, and I shouldn't say I honestly think, I jokingly think that the conspiracy theory of that when they clicked on the Hadron Collider for the very first time, that it sent us in a parallel universe because, man, things have just not been normal for essentially since Trump became president. Like things have just not been normal for the last decade. Things have been progressively getting worse, and I wouldn't say just in the United States. And I'm not blaming Trump for all of it either. Um, like I've said before, and I've had conversations with people too that you know between our options, Trump was he unfortunately like him, hate him, love him, despise him, whatever the case scenario is, he was our best option. We couldn't keep going down the path that the Democrats wanted us to go down, and nobody in the Republicans had any chance of ever beating Trump. So at the end of the day, I would rather have Trump than Kamala Harris. I would rather have Trump than Joe Biden. I would rather have Trump than that moron over in California. What's his name? Gavin Newsom. Like it's bad and it's sad to say that, but I would. Um, I don't agree. I mean, I agree a lot with some of the things that he's doing, and then other things like for one, he needs to shut up and stay off of social media and stay out of the limelight. Like this guy wants so much attention, he needs attention. He thrives on it. Like the dude, I think that's the only thing that's keeping him alive. Like how vampires live off blood. He lives off the attention from everybody. I mean, he's already admitted in his past presidency that he likes it when, like Kim Jong Un walks in front of his people and everybody like bows to him. He's like, I wish people would bow to me. That's where they got the whole him being a king thing from. And it's like, would you rather have Palantir unleashed fully or a Palantir? Dude, you can't even begin to understand what I know about Palantir, and it's that thing has already been unleashed. Like it hasn't. You're right. It hasn't been unleashed fully, but it's already been unleashed, and it's been unleashed on a lot of ways that we have no idea about. Russia got the gas, oil, and grain. The No Kings protest. Yeah, it definitely was. It was when they shut us. That's when I think the world's brains broke. Is when they shut us all down for COVID. Yeah, you had many thoughts on the No Kings protest. Sorry, I didn't mean to highlight that. I fat fingered it. Free Nelson Mandela was the last protest you saw. Leads divide because they don't want us. No, that's for sure. And I think more people are starting to see that, and understand it. But again, everybody is so interested in drama that they can't help but look. It's like a terrible traffic accident. Like you drive by it and you can't help but rubberneck it. Good night, Gigi. Well, it's been real. Have a great night. All right, PJ. We'll talk to you soon. But And I think actually I'm going to wrap it up too. We're coming up on an hour here, and I wanted to make this a shorter one. But we'll see you guys again here soon. I'll probably go live again before the end of the week, and then um, maybe one maybe one this weekend. So we'll see you guys here soon. But thank you guys for stopping in tonight. Appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do. We're trying to get this thing rolling again, and we'll get there. It's only been a few weeks since we started back up, and so we'll get rolling again soon. But yeah, if you guys can, make sure you hit the like button for me. It helps out a ton in the algorithm. But yeah, we'll talk to you guys all here soon. Night, everybody.